Hi everyone, welcome to this episode of Full of Useless Information. Full of Useless Information is a series of videos I do that help educate you on actually things that are pretty useful. Today we're going to be talking about food waste. Now there's been a lot of talk about food waste recently, especially when the EPA got focused on it, but more importantly, Paul Hawken, one of the leaders of the sustainability movement, has just finished editing a book called Drawdown. And what he did was he went out and he spoke to all the practitioners, all the scientists, and said, okay, let's do the math. If we're going to actually draw down our carbon, if we're going to not only stop climate change, but start working towards reversing climate change, what mathematically makes the most sense for us to tackle? And that will be very easy for folks to do. They compiled a list, and of course all our favorites are on there. You know, wind energy, solar energy, EVs, all those kinds of things. Surprisingly, the number 3 thing to do on the list is to reduce food waste. And food waste, there's 2 parts. There's the front end of food waste and the back end. A lot of times we think food waste and we only think about the back end. But it was very important for me to have this conversation so you can understand how you can help reduce food waste in really valuable ways. So let's talk about food waste on the front end. Now, I want to say that as Americans, we are not unique to food waste. This is actually a Western culture phenomenon. However, the statistics we're going to use today in the video, we're going to talk about food waste in America, and the numbers we're going to talk about in food waste in America. Did you know that the average piece of food in the United States travels 1,500 miles? 1,500 miles. Isn't that crazy? Think about it. 1,500 miles is a 1/12 of what you use in your car on average. An average American drives about 12,000 miles a year, and 1,500 miles is a little bit over a 1/10 of what you drive, and that's just for one piece of food. So the first thing we really need to start doing conscientiously is shopping locally. That means supporting your local farmers markets, maybe get involved with a CSA, in parentheses, community supported agriculture, and really start thinking about how far do I need to get my lettuce from. And that's one of the particular things that I think is really shocking for people. When we talk about food, remember we're talking about produce too. And for most people on the East Coast, and by the way, 2/3 of Americans live east of the Mississippi, most of our food comes from California, which is crazy. Because when you think about produce, you know, vegetables and fruits and everything, most of that is water. So we are paying for water to be transported all the way across America to our back door. And in the reality, that's, you know, that is a really big piece of waste. How much energy, how much fuel is being used? Here's another example that just absolutely floored me that I use all the time. 80% of the lettuce that we eat on the East Coast in January is grown in Arizona. That's insane. Lettuce is one of the most fragile things that we eat, and yet we're doing it in the most arid state in the country. And then we're transporting it. There's got to be a better way. And I tell people in the Southeast, we can grow our own lettuce even in January. We certainly don't need to be taking one of our precious resources, water, out of the Southwest simply so we can eat lettuce. And I'm not saying we don't eat lettuce. What I'm saying is we solve this issue on the East Coast where it needs to be solved. One of the exciting things I am seeing, though, is I'm a big fan of cherry tomatoes, and I'm seeing more and more southeastern producers. So when you're going to the grocery store, if you can't get to the farmer's market, check out and see where your produce is coming from, right? If you're in the Southeast, Florida and Tennessee is as far as it should come, and that's still probably going to be 300 miles. So really start to become a smart consumer. Here's another shocking thing. 40% of the food before it ever reaches our supermarket gets lost. So that's lost in transportation, you know, it falls off the truck, or it doesn't make it, it's not high quality enough to put on the counters. I always tell people we do not have a hunger problem in the United States. We have a transportation problem in the United States. If we could save that 40% of food and distribute it in a wise way, think about how the world we know in regards to hunger conversation would change. So I hope this front end of the conversation is a really eye-opener for you to start making better choices and start demanding local producers in your area. Or you can always grow your own. I mean, if you're into gardening, don't just, make it really hyper local. Go out in the backyard and pick your herbs or pick your lettuce. My mother grows her own cherry tomatoes, and she's always excited to report to me at the end of the year how many cherry tomatoes she produced. And I eat cherry tomatoes like a snack. I just eat them by the pint. So, we can change our habits and we can be better consumers, and then the process reduce food waste, which, remember, is the number 3 thing we can do to stop climate change and to reverse climate change. All right, let's talk about food waste on the back end. We're all very conscientious of it, and I recently had the pleasure of interviewing Iain Milnes from Power Knot on Speaking of Green, the podcast we do at Southeast Green. Iain was telling me he has this machine that is a liquid food composter, which reduces the need to transport all that food waste. And he was telling me that based on all the calculations they've done, because they actually measure the savings they're doing and can help restaurants and hotels be smarter about how they're managing their food waste, he said the average for each serving is a 1/4 pound of food. So that means every time they serve a meal, the average is a 1/4 pound of food. Think about all the times we eat out, how many meals are served, and then a 1/4 pound of food is being thrown away. Now that is truly food waste. Not only that, now we are taking that food waste and we are transporting it to a landfill nearby. Well, the landfill is not really going to be that nearby, right? So now not only have we probably had food that's been transported 1,500 miles away, now we're going to transport it another 20, 30, 40, 50 miles away to go into a landfill. That is why it's so critical for us to start thinking about what we're doing with our food waste. Now, I am a composter. I'm not a gardener. I am a composter. And it's because I know how much water is in everything that we throw away. Now, a true compost for your gardening efforts, you would not put meat products or dairy products in it. You could put eggshells, but then the rest of it would be, fruit and vegetable scraps. When I talk about composting in your backyard, I want you to know I am maintaining it for a true gardening project, even though I'm not going to use it for gardening. But even if you were just getting rid of your scraps from fruits and vegetables in your compost, that would add up really quickly. And I actually produce an amazing amount of really good soil that makes earthworms very happy because of my compost. But can you see, if you would just throw away your food scraps, you're now not transporting those items that are completely going to become really cool dirt into a truck that goes to a landfill, and then your food scraps get buried and it's going to sit there forever. So this issue is really, really important, and the thing that I love about this issue is all of us can work on it. All of us can be conscientious. All of us can make better food choices and reduce the food waste in this country. And hopefully by doing that, we will be leaders in showing not only how we care about taking care of our planet, but also about how we can maybe start reimagining and rethinking our hunger issue. So I hope you found this video very useful. If you like it, please give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends, and let's all start turning that food waste into a reimagined, less wasteful resource.